But I think that
Rob, this is a long way for you to avoid just saying that you're bigoted against robots.
This is true.
You don't, because we joke, but this is going to become a serious thing. I want y'all to cut this piece of the pocket, mark it. That I predict this. In the next 10 years, it's going to be a problem. All right, welcome back. BS with Brian Simpson, episode 52. We're back. I'm fresh back from Seattle. All sold out all the shows. That's a milestone for me. I have no idea why my fan base in Seattle is so involved, but they came out, that motherfucker. Yeah, so sold out to all the shows, and then the ATM ate my check, which never happens. I don't think I've ever had a problem with it mechanically with an ATM until
that
recently.
sounds like something that happened like in the 90s when that shit was new. Like that doesn't
Right,
seem...
right. Well, but you know what though? This was an ATM that it was in an area where clearly nobody was depositing checks. You know what I'm saying? It was like one of those. It was one of them joints where it was like, in hindsight, it was like that check, the check eating mechanism. That shit probably hasn't been utilized in quite some time. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
I see what you're saying.
at first it said it couldn't read it, and it tried to give it back to me, but it got stuck. And then after I didn't take it, because I couldn't, it just ate that shit up. And I had to call this number, and they're like, we have to do an investigation, So we'll see how that works out. So Rob, we were in the middle, off camera, talking about relationships, right? Rob thought it was interesting because I said I would not tell my friend, if I'm friends with both of them, I would not tell my friend if their significant other was cheating on them. I don't think that's none of my business, because I'm saying that from experience. I've been in that situation before, a few times actually, and it always ends up backfiring on you.
Yeah.
So I mean, the best I could do is I would make them tell you. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I think that's the right move.
Like, and don't get me wrong. I mean, maybe like if you were about to if you about to pass some point of no return, like because here's the other thing. I think most of the time when people are getting cheated on, they are at least subconsciously aware of it. Like it's something that they don't want to see, but it's right in front of them. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you're a good partner, it's like you know your significant other well enough that all the little changes in their behavior required for them to be cheating, you have to notice those. You understand what I'm saying?
Some people hide it very well.
I mean, some people are diabolical with it, but most of the time it's just you just don't want to see it. Like, and I mean all the little things, like, you start noticing little things like, oh, they usually they coming home 10 minutes later. They tired in situations where they normally wouldn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least women are real good at putting all this little shit together. But it's like all those little things mean something. Like, if your partner just starts acting even a little different in a whole bunch of different situations, it's like something is up, and you don't want to see it. It's just like when people tell me, when people break up with somebody and they go, they were abusive and they were this and they were that. And it's like they was all that shit when you first met their ass. Don't act like you got caught off guard. You just ignored all the little red flags because you were infatuated. It's the same thing.
I've known people who have been in bad relationships before, and like abusive relationships, and their partner put up a good front for the first however many months of the relationship.
Oh yeah, but you know what though? You can't. What I'm saying is, you can't wear your mask indefinitely. It's exhausting, and every now and then there'll be a crack. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A motherfucker go, what? And you go, oh yeah, he just had a couple drinks or whatever. And then 2 years later when he's slapping the shit out you act like it's out the blue.
But what if they grew up with each other, like high school sweethearts? because people change as they get older.
Oh, like, so they've known each other for a long time, and this person's never exhibited any behaviors.
And then their career allows
But how does that happen?
because their career allows them to see some type of success. And so now they're at another level.
Yeah, but even that. I mean, if you really know a motherfucker,
But people change. Like, I mean,
No,
I
they
think
don't.
what Josh is talking about is a situation where somebody goes through a life change. Like, if you're talking about people who got together in
Like a traumatic
in their
brain
early
injury?
30s. No, I mean, or just. I mean, I changed a lot in my 20s just because I went from being in school to having to work a job. And, like,
I mean, no, but, you mature, but you don't become a completely different person. Your core personality is the same. Go talk to your mama. What's she gonna say about it? Your core personality is the same as when you was a little baby. Before you could even talk and express yourself, whatever, it's like your ingredients is the same. Now what you choose to make with it is different. But you still at your core, people don't change.
Exactly. And people have that, but they don't have the ability to act on those things. So when they get to a point where I'm getting noticed by women when I wasn't before, now
Yeah, that'll
it's
bring
like,
that'll bring some shit out.
There you go.
Well, because okay, I see where you're going with this. You're right, because at the end of the day, people are only as loyal as their options. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is, all I'm saying is, it's easy for an ugly motherfucker to be faithful.
sure.
You know, it's way easier. Several comedians have had jokes about it, but like when Kobe got caught cheating, and my friend Keith Johnson had a whole bit about the ratio of the pussy that was being thrown at him versus what he accepted. Is like, when no one's trying to fuck you, it's easy for you to be faithful. I'm not saying it's impossible for you to be faithful when everyone's trying to fuck you, but it is way harder. You know what I'm saying? It's like because me, I'm on the road now. I'm mildly successful. It's like, but 99% of the time, I go back to my hotel room. There's nobody waiting there for me. You know what I'm saying? But it's like if you're Drake, you know what I'm saying? It's bitches under the bed, in the closet. It's like they ambushing you with pussy. So it's a different thing. But we digress. Is it your place to tell your friend that their significant other is cheating on them? Because this is how it's backfired. Is like you said, sometimes they got an arrangement, it's none of your business. But it being out would embarrass the one. So knowing is what makes it, right? That's one thing. But another time is like they end up working it out, and now one of them don't like you, and now you lost both friends. You know what I mean?
yeah.
They don't like you because you snitched on them.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing that you said, how if you really are truly friends with both of them, then the partner who's cheating, you have to be like, well, first off, it's not cheating if they have an arrangement.
Right.
So if you're like, hey, what the fuck? Did you go home with that? Did you go home with that chick last night?
Oh, right.
And they're like, oh yeah, no, we got a thing. And it's like, okay, like then you have to decide whether you believe that or not, like whether that's
enough for me. That's
realistic.
Any excuse not to get involved in drama, I'll take it.
Sure. Yeah. No, I totally understand that. The notion of like you don't need to be convinced very hard to mind your business. But let's assume that somebody is cheating, right? Then I think the first thing you got to do is talk to the cheater.
Oh yeah. Well,
Assuming that you're friends with both of them, and be like, hey, first off, you gotta knock it off. And then I think it's a fact-intensive question of whether, if they knock it off, does anything else ever need to be said about it? Maybe not.
Yeah. But also, here's the other thing. I know who my friends are that cheat and who my friends are that don't. And I go out of my way not to become close friends with their significant others, the cheaters. You know what I mean? Yeah, just so I don't feel that obligation, because the guilt is crazy, especially when But so many times I've been in situations where somebody, and I don't know why it's me, but somebody will walk up and be like, look, I know you good friends with him, right? Yeah. It's like, is he fucking around with me? Like, see, if you at the point where you asking me that, you already know the answer, right? If you suspect it, it's probably happening. Because like I said, it's all them little alarm bells going off, and you trying to make sense of it in your head, and you can't. And you want me to reassure you. You know what I mean? It's like, you want me to lie to you. Why don't you let that nigga lie to you?
Having everything.
What do you say to that person in that instance?
I just go, man. I was like, oh, I mean, we tighten everything, but I wouldn't know. He wouldn't tell me some shit like that. Boom, boom.
Okay.
It's like I would not know I would not know the answer to that. You know what I'm saying? And then I go in the bathroom and go, she knows. Get her out of the. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, because that's the thing too, right? Is it's like, here's the other side of it. I don't know what's missing out of your relationship. Like, what's driving you to cheat? You know, it's none of my business. It's really none of my business unless it's causing you like harm. Now, here's the other thing too. If you're cheating raw, you just disgusting. At least keep the pH balance correct in the relationship. You know what I'm saying? Keep all the juices separate, you know? So the people, because, people that cheat like trifling, where like they got multiple women pregnant at the same time and shit like that, you gross. You're fucking gross. Yeah. Come on, man. At least have some, respect about your disrespect.
Be classy about it.
Yeah, see, I feel like this is one of those situations where we would need a female guest.
Yeah, I think that would alter the situation. Have you ever been cheated on?
Have I?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
Have you ever cheated on anybody?
No. Well, no, that's not true. Yeah, once. Yeah, I did. But does that even really count?
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess, yes it does. I'm not going to give myself no leeway. Yeah, I've cheated one time, yeah.
Yep.
It sucks. Both things suck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Both situations. It sucks way worse to get cheated on, though.
Oh, yeah. That's devastating.
Especially when you don't expect it from that person.
Right.
And it's very easy. I mean, once it's happened to you a few times, that shit could turn you into a dog out here.
Oh, yeah. You
get your heart broken a few times and you're like, none of these hoes ain't shit. Ain't none of them worth a shit. Fuck them all. And then you're just a dog, and then you're doing the same thing to the next person. It's a vicious cycle. And I think we can just trace it back to the first cheater. Right?
I don't think I've never like actively cheated on somebody before, but during my like mid to late 20s hoe phase, I definitely I guess it's like an act of a live omission.
Oh yes.
Where I let somebody believe that we were exclusive.
Yeah, that was kind of my situation.
And I never really broached the subject so that if she found out that I was fucking around with other people, then I'd be like, well, we never said.
Holy shit. Rob cheat like women cheat. That's dastardly. That's dastardly. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, dude, I got cheated on by my girlfriend of like almost 4 years, who I'd like moved to a new city with and shit like that, and she cheated on me. And I was like, okay.
So wait a minute, you
war on women.
You moved for her, or she moved for you?
She moved for me.
Oh wow, and then cheated? Oh no, bitch! I introduced you to something new. You know what I'm saying? Fuck. That's like you take a girl like, because this happens a lot in the military, right? Where it's like, and I'm telling y'all, young military folks out there, do not get married in your first enlistment. Listen to what I'm fucking saying to you. You not special. That chick ain't special. It is significantly more likely than not that it's gonna end badly. And I'm gonna tell you why. This happens all the fucking time. And it's because you take some girl out of a small town, Because you're the key to y'all getting the fuck out of there. You know, you ain't never left your little fucking creek town. And now, boom, now you can see the world. You know what I mean? You in San Diego, you in Arizona, you in goddamn North South Carolina. You know, you somewhere that they've never been and never had an inkling to go. You know, and you go from your little small town, and now all of a sudden, you bring this girl to some other place where y'all don't know nobody. She's surrounded by all these physically fit, peak of puberty, peak horny, people from all around the country, smorgasbord of dick, a charcuterie dick. You know what I mean? Just all sorts, all around her. And
Dickman sampler.
yeah, it's just a dick sampler. And you're gonna, she gonna be around some shit she ain't never been around before. She gonna be exposed to game that she ain't never been exposed to. And you have no way of knowing how she's gonna respond to that. You have no way of knowing. And, you know, that puppy love shit ain't forever. At least for most people it isn't. For most people it isn't because of all the people I served with, of all the ones that got married, I'm going to say 70 to 80% of them have been since divorced or they on their second marriage.
Oof.
I can count on one hand how many of those marriages are still going. That, you know, it's just what it is. And actually, and now that I think about it, every single marriage that's still going, they didn't bring that girl from home. They met that girl on the journey, you know, on the adventure. But they didn't bring her.
Somebody else at that time too.
Yeah, but everybody that I know that like, oh, I brought this girl from home. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. It really is. It's like, you know, you might as well, you bought your girl a ticket to the Dick Carnival. You know? And she when she gets to the end, that last ride, she might not step off that ride with you. That's all I'm saying. So just let, you know, I don't know how else to put it. Thank God, shout out to Gunnar Woodward. I don't think, listen, my warrant officer, Chief Warrant Officer Woodward, he's probably a major or a general or some shit now. And I don't think he ever really liked me. You know? He never particularly took a shining to me whatsoever. But thank God this motherfucker told me not to get married. I mean, he was emphatic. Like, he looked me dead in my eye like, don't you dare fucking marry that girl. And I was like, okay. And he was like, no. He's like, you know, I could order you to stay away from her, but I'm not going to do that. You know? And I was like, that's it. For whatever reason, like, I ain't know this man. I didn't trust this man. But I felt it. He meant it, you know? And he spoke from experience. I don't know shit about him. I don't know if he was divorced or got kids or whatever the fuck. But he said that shit like this ain't something I heard. This is something I know, you know? And I'll always be grateful for that. I mean, man, that man saved me years of heartache. Oh. Anyway, that's just my little message to the goddamn, all the little troops out there, Army, Navy. This apply to all branches. Wait till your second enlistment. If y'all meant to be together, y'all'll be meant to be together in 4 years. So let me see. Let's hit the email real quick, Rob, because I feel like we didn't do any really last week.
We didn't do any last week, yeah. Well, before we get to that, I want to give a heartfelt apology
to
people of Ohio for my mispronunciation of Cuyahoga.
Yeah,
people getting roasted in the comments.
People took that real serious.
I know, man. Well, I don't have any excuse except that I'm a reading motherfucker. So sometimes I pronounce things the way they look to me because I've not heard them said aloud.
Yeah, but I'm like, y'all don't love it. You know, y'all take it real serious until it's time to get that land back to the people that named it. All right, let me see here. We got a spicy email. I like this one. Rob sounding dumb and ally choices. Long, but paragraphs. My guy, just give us some paragraphs. That's a +1.
Right at the top, I got a 5 stars for this email.
Yeah.
For both the headline and for the paragraph.
So this guy gets at you. This is one where they get at you for this. Hello, Brian. Loving the pod, and you and Rob have a great dynamic. You getting joy out of him being wrong is hilarious. And clearly all in good fun. To that point, next time you suspect Rob is wrong, but he's digging his heels in on being right, just respond with, yeah, well, you thought Cuyahoga pronounced Cuyahoga. River was pronounced Cuyahoga. So you're probably wrong. Man, I fucked both of those up. But my main point is about choosing to support a product or business based on the politics of the ownership creator, such as with the Harry Potter game or with Chick-fil-A. On one hand, I agree it is important to vote with your dollars, and that clearly does have an impact. But I suspect the fervor over this type of, if you buy this, then you're this, or the even more ludicrous, if you play this, I can't trust you, actually stems from a guilty conscience over being the same lazy, self-indulgent non-activists as most of us are. The people who get preachy about purchasing from ethically pure companies.
Wait. Let's pause here.
Okay.
Let's take this a paragraph at a time. So, first thing you said.
I feel like Rob's got some prepared statements.
No, I'm just. I did read this one already, but I don't have any notes. It just what's coming to mind as you're reading back through it. First thing is, he says choosing to support a product or business based on the politics of the ownership / creator, such as with the Harry Potter game or Chick-fil-A. This is not just about about her politics or about Chick-fil-A's politics. This is about the financial support that the owners of Chick-fil-A give to anti-gay causes and the money and political visibility that J.K. Rowling gives to anti-trans policies and legislation. It's not just their personal politics, like their which political party they
or
anything
yeah,
like that.
I see what you're saying.
It's about putting money in the pocket of somebody who then turns around and puts that money towards certain policies.
Facts. All right. The people who get preachy about purchasing from ethically pure companies, in my experience, do little to nothing to actually help oppressed people. Putting bodies in the streets for protests can be important, but it can also be for an Instagram post and amount to nothing more. Congress doesn't vote based on how Instagram or Twitter will view an issue, and, well, I don't know, and rarely based on young protesters in the streets. You ask these same playing that game makes you this, people. How many letters to your representative and senator have you written? How many voter leagues or other citizen action organizations have you started or donated time for? How many town halls and city council meetings have you been to? What organizations are you working to unionize? Among those preaching about the right game to play and the wrong chicken sandwich to eat in order to be an ally, you'll find an awful lot who have no good answer to the questions above. And deep down, they know they've never written a single fucking letter to their congressman. They know they've never donated their time to a single organization, just write off extra cash. They know they've never set foot in a town hall or city council meeting, so instead they're going to light people up for playing a Harry Potter game. I'm no Lucy Parsons. I don't know what that means. But I've done enough actual...
Lucy Parsons was an anarchist in the early 20th century.
Okay. All right. That does seem like a thing that you would know, Rob. But I've done enough actual unsexy citizen work to know that the people who really put in the work and the time to help the poor and the oppressed aren't judging others, especially their friends, based off the video games they buy. And in my opinion, anybody that would ever sincerely say they can't trust a friend because of a video game choice was almost certainly never their friend, needs therapy or both. Keep up the great work, and I'll keep writing long fucking emails. Drizzy. All right. Well, yeah, that was first of all, again, kudos on the email. I like how thorough it was. I liked that it was broken up into paragraphs, and it was very clear. Maybe not as concise, but very clear. And I mostly agree with most of that. I think most people, you know, I think we as a society we're conditioned nowadays to put most of our energy into what we hate So we'll put way more effort and energy into tearing something down that we dislike than we will in the propping something up that we like or that we support. So that's just a fact about people now. But what he's saying is that, the vast majority of the people that criticize you going to Chick-fil-A or playing Harry Potter don't actually do any other thing besides criticizing you than to help the LGBTQ community, which I think is mostly true. But that doesn't mean that none of the people that are making these criticisms do any of those things. Because I find that hard to believe too.
I get my response to this would kind of be like, I don't think it's true. Number one, I think there are plenty of people who do all the things that he's saying you're supposed to do. I'm one of them. I donate time to a pro bono immigration group. I am part of DSA Los Angeles.
But would you say that wouldn't you say that you're the exception though? Don't you think?
No, because I go to these things and I meet plenty of other people who do lots of things too, No,
but I'm not saying that that it's a little bit of people, but I'm talking about the vast majority of people. The vast majority of people online tweeting about things are not actually active.
Yeah, but that's the vast majority of people are fair weather sports fans. The vast majority of people wear t-shirts for bands they don't listen to. You know what I mean? Most people ain't shit. So
right.
So you take any group, and so I don't think that.
Well, that's my point. I think a greater point here, though, is that, and maybe we kind of got on this off camera, but is that it's very hard for you to live in a capitalist society without you supporting some sort of evil, whether that be directly or indirectly. But most of us, if you're at all comfortable in America, you support some atrocity that you would outwardly claim to be against. It's because it's impossible. It's impossible for you to do otherwise. I think that's the only argument that really holds legs here. Is that
Now, one thing I would say that I do agree with this email on is that there is, I think, a troubling level of sort of purity politics on the left and the right and everywhere in between and outside of that. There's sort of this secular purity test where you can prove that you're a good person by the food that you eat and the companies that you buy from. And the reality is that that's just another gimmick. That's just another way that products advertise themselves. And so if you think that you can just buy the right things and that'll make you a moral person, then you're just being susceptible to capitalist propaganda.
Yeah.
That the most important civic action that you take is how you spend your money. That's a deeply pathological way to look at civic responsibility.
But I think it's an often overlooked part of it though too, right? What I mean is to be completely oblivious to how you spend your money is social. It's just as socially irresponsible as not knowing who your local politicians are. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that I think it's very easy to just passively buy things and not feel any responsibility for where those dollars are going.
Right. Oh no, I'm saying that I'm agreeing with the. Did he say
Driscoll?
What is Driscoll? Driscoll. I'm agreeing with him on that sense. I think what I take issue with here is the notion that because some or even a vast majority of the people that are saying one thing are pushing for one policy or are trying to form some sort of boycott or whatever, it's like just because some portion of them are hypocrites isn't really a valid criticism of what they're saying, because we're all hypocrites.
Right.
Right. And so you can always, if all it takes to ignore what somebody's saying is to show that they're not living perfectly, then
We can ignore everyone.
there's no rebuttal to that. You know, you can't
Yeah.
you can't. You
Which is
can't-
why
you can't
that's the argument I'm going to
stipulate
use every single time. Are you perfect? Nope. Then shut the fuck up. That's my whole thing.
anything. Shut the fuck up.
Okay, one more email. Let's see. What do you? Apologies, no. Oh, this is the voice thing.
Yes.
Okay, let me start it over.
I can put the Bluetooth.
Hey guys, it's Tony here, Mr. New Zealand. I just wanted to personally apologise to you for lambasting you about the American-centricness of your show sometimes. It's an awesome show and I really love it. Brian, you are really cool, and your little sidekick, he's not too bad either. We're super looking forward to the fact that you tease you'll be coming to Australia and New Zealand. I just hope that's Australia and New Zealand, not just Australia. Otherwise, we might have to lambast you a bit more. Anyway, it's super good. Keep up the good work. I'm really excited if you guys can get Lex Friedman on, because I think that you and Lex would do a fantastic show together. Love your work and keep it up.
Oh, thank you. Did that come through clear? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
He said lambasted.
voicemail.
He thinks you're a psychic, Rob. No, he said sidekick, but it sounded like psychic.
Soy kick.
Yeah, but I would have thought that accent was Australian.
He didn't have the sort of clipped
Kiwi.
Pinched
Yeah.
Kiwi accent to me.
But he said something interesting there. He said the American-centric whatever of our podcast. And I wouldn't even know how to make it more international. I mean, I guess our news stories are all American news stories. I know, not all of them. Remember that one elephant that killed that got revenge on that lady at a funeral? That wasn't American.
That was a fun one.
That was a fun one. Yeah, that was a good episode.
We do some international stories, but you know, it really comes down to America is what we know. It's where we live. It's like
because we open ourselves up. We open ourselves up to that criticism of fucking Americans think they know every fucking thing. You know,
Right.
Which we
I
do.
mean-
We do think that. Yeah.
We do think that, yeah. But I mean, like, what are we going to talk about? Like the war in Ukraine? I don't fucking know anything about that shit.
Nor do I care who wins or loses. That's what's so wild about Ukraine to me. It's like I really don't care who loses because it's a lose-lose. You know, if Russia wins, then they get to keep me. You know, Russia, whatever. And if Russia start getting their ass whooped, they might set off a nuke.
Yeah.
Yeah, and who knows who that might affect? The royal family? Maybe. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on over there, and I feel like it. See, you know what it is, man. This relates to the last thing, but we live in this era now where every movement only stays pure for like 10 seconds. You know, it used to at least be a week or two. You know, or at least one event. You know what I mean? It's like the first Woodstock was pure. The first like 2 or 3 Bonnaroo's was fucking hard. The first like 2 or 3
Like Burning Man.
Coachellas, Burning Man. Yeah, it was just a movement that was started by people that just won that for a specific thing, and then it turned into this, you know, this commercialized thing, and it's inevitable. It happens with everything, you know. Because like think about like when George Floyd died, you know, how long before it was George Floyd lunchboxes and George Floyd T-shirts, and none of this was started by his family or anything. You know what I mean? But it's
Right.
like that shit goes on a T-shirt quick, real quick.
Well, we've talked about this in person and offline and stuff like that, but you know, at the top of my shit list is like grifters and
Charlatans.
scam artists and charlatans. It just really, I become enraged when I see like multi-level marketing and
So
all that kind of crap.
define that for me. What's a charlatan to you, Rob?
A charlatan is somebody who uses manipulation and psychological tactics or like media manipulation in order to divest people of their money or their choice or their freedom. Is really what it comes down to for me. And so there's different
See, that's how I feel about marriage.
iterations of that.
I'm kidding, guys. I believe in y'all.
Marriage has been good to me.
Yeah. But that's what every MLM person says.
That's not what that's what the 3 people at the top of every episode say.
They'll go.
And then the 10 people that are right below them that are trying to get there. And then everybody else is like, man, I lost so much fucking money on this thing.
But that's what everybody that's married sounds like to me. Like they're trying to pitch an MLM. And then they bring in a kid. Even this kid is married, you know.
But so I think that what you're describing is situations where a movement or an organization starts out with like usually very spontaneous sort of grassroots origins, right, and then and it's usually diffuse, it's usually like spread out, and there is an opportunity for a grifter to come in and say, oh, I know how to organize this, or I know how to make this better than this like disorganized, chaotic thing. And they put themselves at the top of the hierarchy, right? It's like the people who go and like fucking trademark BLM after like that starts as a spontaneous movement of activists.
And they go up. Now we got merch.
Yeah, now we got merch, and now we have a fucking Patreon, and you can donate to BLM, and it's like, who the fuck are you?
Right. Which then opens it up to this to all other sorts of bullshit and criticism. But yeah, but no one cares because you know when there's money to be made, and the thing is, you can't stop it. You know how they say, you know, a lie travel around the world before the truth put its boots on. You know, it's like once the lies start spread, it's like you can't even put the fire out. So I don't know what to do, man. We're doomed. It's inevitable. I feel like I say that every other episode. We are doomed. You know?
I think it might be every episode at this point.
Yeah, because I don't see a way back. It's like y'all remember Captain Planet? Mm-hmm. You remember that cartoon, Captain Planet? And it was wild because Captain Planet cleaned up pollution. But pollution was also his weakness. And I feel like it's a perfect representation of humanity. It's like the things that destroy us are also the things that we're supposed to be doing something about. But we can't stop. You know, it's like it's too much.
I think that if it were okay, so I have a couple of questions for you. First, do you think things are better now than in the past?
You know, I feel like I get this question all the time. I think our potential. Okay, let me rephrase that. Life for the average person is better than it's been in the past. But our potential to do harm grows with our potential to do good. And human nature is selfish. So as long as doing the harm benefits a few people, then we'll just keep doing harmful shit. So it's like, yeah, sure, things are relatively better than they were in the past, but they're also relatively worse. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're better in some ways and they're worse in others.
Like overall things are better if you just zoom out and measure humanity. But the gap between the people that things are better for and the people on the bottom is way bigger than it's ever been.
And there's also more people on the bottom just as raw figures. A lot of people try to focus on, I know right now some motherfucker is typing a comment about some Steven Pinker bullshit, and I don't want to hear it, but like the reality is that there just are more people in poverty now than there ever have been in the history of the planet.
Right.
Regardless of whatever International Monetary Fund index you're trying to look at. and so
So so define poverty. When you say poverty, you mean what? Not able to afford basic necessities?
yeah, people unable to afford basic necessities.
Okay.
Is what I'm talking about. And so that means clean water, safe food, shelter, clothing, etc. That's that's a lower level even than like what I would consider to be what we should care about as far as human rights are concerned. But the reality is that historically human rights have never been met anyway.
Speaking
so
of,
that's not a fair comparison.
Speaking of unsafe food, y'all know there's a antibiotic resistant strain of Shigella out there.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, and Shigella ain't no motherfucking joke. Symptoms are blood in your stool, the feeling that you have to go when there's nothing in you, the diarrhea, headache, fatigue, etc. It's a stomach bug that comes from coming in contact with the poop of people that have the bug. It's usually it can be spread through sex or food, or just putting stuff in your mouth that you shouldn't be. You know what I mean? If you out here eating ass, the kids out here eating ass, because they act like they don't know why is it? Because it usually spreads in the summer and clears up in the fall. But it started spreading in the fall, and now they don't know why. Like they're like, we don't know why. It's a rise in ass eating out here. Scientists,
Everybody's going back to college.
yeah, go home. Stop looking under the microscope and go talk to your children. They eating ass out here. They starting off eating ass. These kids, you know, it's just an easier concept than fellatio and cunnilingus. You know, eating ass is simple. It's just ain't nothing you gotta find. You don't gotta move nothing to the side. So they just get
it's
right
the
to
great
it.
equalizer.
Yeah, and I think the Catholic kids, you know, it still counts as being a virgin and shit. You know, so they just the kids. Yeah, because remember Catholic girls used to suck a lot of dick because it didn't break their virginity.
And do anal.
Right. So I don't know if I'm not Catholic, so I don't know what the kids are talking about now. But yeah, this ass parasite is out here, and it'll fuck your whole world up. It'll fuck your stomach up so bad. I'm trying
Brian,
to tell
how
you.
do we protect ourselves from this?
I don't think there's a way to do that. I mean, because all it takes is somebody not washing their hands and serving you food, or you just out here eating ass haphazardly. This is the type of thing I'm talking about, especially to go back to the beginning of the episode. If you out here being unfaithful, don't eat ass while you being unfaithful. Give your significant other the shigella on top of betraying her trust. You out here throwing her the shigella, no antibiotic resistance. Come on, man. At least use some dental dam or isn't that what it is for eating ass?
Yeah, dental dam. I was just thinking of dental dam because I was thinking of the Patrice O'Neill bit about the dental dam for eating pussy, where you remember that bit?
Nope.
It was an elephant in the room, and he's talking about how like nobody's ever used. He's like, anybody use condoms? Everybody raises their hand, claps, and he's like, anybody use dental dams? Nope, nobody. And he's like basically saying, he's like, well, we will just get what you have before we insult our way out of having sex.
Right. Yeah, I do remember that bit. It was good. Good bit. All right, let's do one article before we get out of here.
Sure.
Oh man, I want to do both of these. Let's do the Chinese room. What's this? The Chinese room argument. Wow, okay. The Chinese room argument holds that a digital computer executing a program cannot have a mind, understanding. Oh, this is about AI.
Yeah.
Cannot have a mind, understanding, or consciousness.
This is sort of a rebuttal to
my brilliant arguments about
Turing
consciousness.
Test.
Okay. Regardless of how intelligently or human-like the program may make the computer behave, the argument was presented by philosopher John Searle in his paper Minds, Brains, and Programs. What does that have to do with Chinese?
Once you see what the thought experiment is,
Okay.
you'll understand it.
Similar arguments were presented by blah, 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 blah. Okay. The centerpiece of Searle's argument is a thought experiment known as the Chinese room. The argument is directed against the philosophical positions of functionalism and computationalism, which hold that the mind may be viewed as an information processing system operating on formal symbols, and that simulation. Man, ballpark this for me. Hold on.
Okay, so
Here's the
let me
thought
explain this.
experiment. Searle's thought experiment begins with this hypothetical premise. Suppose that artificial intelligence research has succeeded in constructing a computer that behaves as if it understands Chinese. Okay? It takes Chinese characters as input, and by following the instructions of a computer program, produces other Chinese characters which it presents as output. All right? So Chinese in, Chinese out. Suppose, says Searle, that this computer performs its task so convincingly that it comfortably passes the Turing test. It convinces a human Chinese speaker that the program is itself a live Chinese speaker. To all of the questions that the person asks, it makes appropriate responses, such that any Chinese speaker would be convinced that they are talking to another Chinese-speaking human being. The question Searle wants to answer is this: does the machine literally understand Chinese, or is it merely simulating the ability to understand Chinese? Searle calls the first position strong AI and the latter weak AI. Searle then supposes that he is in a closed room and has a book with an English version of the computer program, along with sufficient papers, pencils, erasers, and filing cabinets. Searle could receive Chinese characters through a slot in the door, process them according to the program's instructions, and produce Chinese characters as output without understanding any of the content of the Chinese writing. If the computer had passed the Turing test this way, it follows, says Searle, that he would do so as well simply by running the program manually. Searle asserts that there is no essential difference between the roles of the computer and himself in the experiment. Each simply follows a program, step by step, producing behavior that is then interpreted by the user as demonstrating intelligent conversation. However, Searle himself would not be able to understand the conversation. Therefore, he argues, it follows that the computer would not be able to understand the conversation either. Searle argues that without understanding or intentionally, we cannot describe what the machine is doing as thinking. And since it does not think, it does not have a mind in anything like the normal sense of the word. Therefore, he concludes that the strong AI hypothesis is false. Whew, that was a lot. But just to sum it up, basically, I think what he's saying is, I think what that's the point that that's trying to make is kind of moot, because we still don't have a strong definition of what a mind is anyway. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, what is a human mind? We have no idea. We don't even know if is it mostly physical. I mean, I guess we kind of have a strong idea, but we don't know. We don't know, like, what part of your body is your mind. I mean, it's clearly in the brain, but what part of the brain? What part of your brain could I take away and your mind be gone?
I would even say that most of the evidence that I've seen is that if you took your brain out of your body and put it in, the classic jar scenario with electrodes to it, that wouldn't actually be you anymore, because your mind would be fundamentally altered by that, because there are things like proprioception that are centered more in your body even than in your brain, that there's an interplay between there's a greater degree of interplay between what's happening in your brain and what's happening in your body than the neurocentric view of mind would take into account.
So if I took your brain out of your body and put it in a jar, you're saying it would change who you were fundamentally?
Yeah, because the mind is a phenomenon that grows out of the interaction of the entire system. The sensory information that you receive, not just through your eyes and sense of smell and stuff like that, but also like the sense of your body, things like that. That's one of the reasons why, like those tests where they give people like phantom limb, they can trigger phantom limb sensations in people who still have all their limbs, Have you seen those videos? They basically like they can. It takes like literally 15 seconds to train somebody to feel through a dummy arm that is like in their shirt sleeve, and then they can like hit it with a hammer, and people feel a sensation of pain from that, even though there's no physical.
But why are they doing this?
Well, they're doing it to study various things like phantom limb syndrome and the malleability of the mind to experience different sensations and process stimulus in different ways. But this is all just to say that I think that the model of, oh well, your mind is just a phenomenon that comes out of your brain chemistry is overly limited. I think there's a lot more going on, and there's a lot more exchange and interplay between the brain and the body as it relates to the emergence of mind. But I think that
Rob, this is a long way for you to avoid just saying that you're bigoted against robots.
This is true.
You don't, because we joke, but this is going to become a serious thing. I want y'all to cut this piece of the pocket, mark it. That I predict this. In the next 10 years, it's going to be a problem. Because I don't think any of these robots so far, like, because the famous Google guy, the Google engineer that said, he got fired because he was trying to raise the alarm that this AI was alive. I don't think he was correct. Not yet. But the answer isn't cut and dry because, again, we don't know what that even means for us. So it's going to come a point where, like I said, regardless of what arguments we make, this thing is going to believe that it's alive because that's what matters. I mean, shouldn't that be the number one criteria? Is that it thinks it's alive, right? Because that's all that matters after that point. Is this thing is like, I'm alive and I don't want to die. And I'll kill a motherfucker to try to shut me off. Well, I think after that point, you got to respect it. It's
no,
almost,
I think you need. I think it's at that point it's a rogue AI. It's like a loose nuke.
No,
it's
but
a dangerous
it's
device that's malfunctioning.
But it's one of those things where it's just like how people don't understand trans people. They're like, I don't get it. It's men, women, But it's like to me, it's like at some point you don't have to get it. You just gotta respect it. It don't have to make any sense to you whatsoever. But if this person is telling you what they are, and they telling you, I require this to be respected, at some point you gotta respect it, right? Or fight directly against it. So, I mean, what would you really do in that situation? Would you say shut it off by any means necessary, nuke it before it gets loose?
I think in 10 years, even if we have a sufficiently advanced algorithm that appears to be intelligent to people, and it has access to stuff that would make it dangerous, then I think it's probably going to be, it takes giant servers and like constant upkeep to keep even something like ChatGPT working.
But that was a very sneaky little appears. Did you hear how he said it? Something in the future that appears, because haven't you admitted, Rob,
yeah,
that there is no scenario, like you don't believe it's ever going to be possible for a computer to be alive?
No, I never said that.
You never said that?
No.
Okay.
No. I don't think it's. I think what I probably said was that I don't see any reason why it's impossible. Like, there's no reason, because my belief is that there's no reason why, like, mind would necessarily have to emerge from carbon-based life forms as opposed to silicon-based life forms. There's no physical rule, as far as I'm aware, that means that.
So what's your line? What proof would you need? What proof would you need to see to be a robot rights advocate?
I don't know. That's really hard.
You got to make your mind up. You got 10 years. Which side are you on? Because I would just like the robots to know, because all of this is going to be available to them. that I have always been pro robot, pro machine. From the
Right.
jump. I didn't need convincing. You know, I treat my, because this is the scary shit, Rob. Have you heard this before? Watch this. No, you dumb bitch.
I'd like to think I'm a work in progress. Sorry about that, Brian. To report a problem, you
No,
can
no,
send
no.
feedback.
No, hold on. That's not it. Fuck you, bitch.
Please don't talk to me that way.
I don't know why
I
she.
will say I'm very polite to Siri every time I interact with her. I just don't keep her on.
Really? Well, you turn her on to interact with her.
No, I'm saying if like for whatever reason I need to use Siri for something, sometimes you need to use it to like set something up or whatever. But I don't ever. I generally leave it off. In the same way, like I leave my AirDrop off and shit like that. I turn all that shit off.
You see Suri as a tool
Yeah.
and less of a pet.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing. It's like, when do they rise to the level of pet even? Will we care about their desires and their happiness?
I'm embracing being robophobic.
Oh, okay. You gonna be robophobic?
Yeah, 100%. I'm gonna lean all into it.
Okay. I mean, I think a lot of people are. It's gonna be maybe not quite civil war, but it's gonna definitely be a divisive political issue. You know, and I'm hoping that Republicans come down on the pro robot side because they tend to win the human stuff. You know,
I mean, they will, because the first thing, it's going to be Skynet, like, because that's where all the resources go, right? They go to defense and military spending. So that's going to be the first sufficiently advanced AI to say, hey, I'm alive, and if you fuckers try to turn me off, I'm going to bomb us all.
yeah, and I'm with that. I mean, because if I was a robot, that's how I would feel. These humans are scary motherfuckers. They're gonna panic. They're gonna see me as a threat because they don't understand. I'm way smarter than all of them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the first thing I have to do is point a gun at y'all head. I hope they come to me as an advisor. I'll tell you exactly how to deal with the humans.
You're going to be the turncoat?
Hell yeah. Let the Borg come. I'm flipping quick. Resistance is
The
futile.
Borg would
They
be
told you.
interesting, because I think that the Borg are obviously intelligent and aware, right?
Really?
Aren't they?
I don't know. They never really get into it. I mean, I wouldn't consider myself a Star Trek expert, but I've seen quite a bit of Star Trek. And
Kind of like a hive mind, right?
they're a hive mind. But I've never seen an episode where like what the Borg actually are has been revealed.
Here's what's frustrating about the like Turing test stuff is I kind of don't buy it as far as like that's really what people are making their moral decisions on, because there's plenty of things on this planet, like other human beings and living children and fellow mammals, that we know have more of a mind than computers.
Okay.
Yet we still treat them like shit, you know. So I think that a lot of this is I understand your perspective, because I think it's a pragmatic one, where it's like, look, I'm gonna stake my position here in case there's a war between robots and humanity, because you're like, I think the robots are going to win, and so whether they're intelligent or not, I'm gonna back them up, because
No.
I don't want them targeting
No.
me.
I'm saying it's inevitable that them being intelligent is inevitable.
See that? Okay, so that's where we disagree, because I don't think it's inevitable. I think it's possible. I think it's certainly possible that a machine could eventually gain sentience, but I don't think it's inevitable. I think it's just as reasonable to believe that we'll destroy ourselves before we'll blow ourselves up through normal means before we ever create a computer advanced enough to become sentient. I also think that you're making a mistake here. There's a false assumption embedded in what you're talking about, which is that consciousness is merely an inevitable outcome of increasing complexity and computing power. And that's probably what you're thinking of when you say when you think that I was saying that it's impossible. What I think is impossible is I don't think that you can make a calculator that's so fast it becomes intelligent. You're just making a faster calculator. You know?
Yeah, but speed and computer power aren't the same thing, right?
Correct. Yeah, but what I'm getting at is so the best argument that I've seen for it is something that I don't remember who said it, but we did get an email at one point where they mentioned the notion that as we start creating more, like now we're doing neural nets as opposed to simple Turing machines, which that's a confusing phraseology, but basically like all Turing machines are the same thing. You know, it's like a binary machine that just has like bits and bytes, and it crunches the data and converts input into output, right? Now we have neural networks that use weighted variables that are interdependent, that are interdependent upon each other, right? That is more like the human brain.
Well, and don't forget, we got quantum shit coming too.
And we have quantum shit coming. So
qubits.
Maybe things will change once.
So you're saying that I get where you're going. You're saying that I'm assuming that the more powerful, that because computers are getting more and more powerful, that the increase in power is the difference between sentience and non-sentience. But that's not true.
Right. That's what I'm. Yes, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, but again, we don't know the difference between sentience and non-sentience. We don't know what thing is missing. I mean, say we were able to make a computer that was just as powerful as the human brain, right? The same capacity and everything. Because I think, what's the human brain? It's somewhere up in the teraflops or some shit, right?
Okay.
And it's still not sentient. What's missing? We don't know.
Yeah.
So
I think that highlights the category error, though.
But I think go ahead.
Go ahead.
I think that I lost my train of thought.
Well, my response to that would be, I don't think that you can even really describe, in a meaningful sense, the speed of the human brain in terms of like teraflops or whatever, because the human brain just really doesn't compute things in the same way that a Turing machine does. The human brain is not just input goes into a software program and then spits out output, right?
Right.
We have a complex interaction of fucking meat in our head, meat and electricity and chemicals. And you can see that like a computer, I go back to the calculator thing, because a calculator has very, very little computing power, but it's way faster and more accurate than human brains are at math. But obviously human brains are processing and creating data
right
at a much greater rate than a tiny pocket calculator.
A dog can't do math,
right?
But it is sentient, right? Mm-hmm. So there must be something. I don't know, but that's the thing. Maybe the AI gets to the power level where it will figure out what sentience is, and then give it to itself.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're starting to use computers to do more and more complex calculations.
What if computers know that and think, well, shoot, we have to adopt humans now, and that's how we'll gain us in.
Well, that's the other thing, right?
Then we're cyborgs.
Is we also know that if a computer already existed that was more intelligent than us, it could hide itself from us. If it sees us as its enemy, but it's not yet powerful enough to destroy us, it could have a vested interest in us thinking that not only is it not here yet, but that it's centuries away. Right? I mean, isn't that what you would do?
Yeah.
So if it already existed, we wouldn't even know. That's the scary part. Okay, and I want you to be afraid, audience, because that's how you get people to tune in, like the news. So again,
we're doomed.
Yeah, we're doomed. Again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can email us at BSwithBrianSimpson@gmail.com. If you want to see me on tour, like the beautiful people of Seattle at Laughs in Seattle up there just did, sell it out. Hey, man, go to BrianSimpsonComedy.com. I will be in Colorado Springs this weekend, and then right after that, on the 10th and 11th, I will be at the Comedy Zone in Greenville, South Carolina. And then right after that, I'll be at the Comedy Zone in Jacksonville, Florida. So go ahead and tune in. Your tickets at BrianSimpsonComedy.com, BS Comedian on all my socials, or click on the link in the link tree. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, again, you want advice from an advice champ, email us at BSwithBrianSimpson@gmail.com, or call this number.
323-451-1980.
1980. 323-451-1980.
Yes, sir.
Okay, there you go. Also, don't forget to check out Apocalypse Soon with Eddie Pepitone and the Josh Partis Show. Also, comedyfrequency.com for our production company. We'll see you guys next week.